I do want to see what IGN says about it. They said we played it, so I'm curious.
From the discovery of sprawling subterranean otherworlds to the startling second phases that completely turned the tables in so many of its boss fights, 2022's Elden Ring was a mesmerizing action RPG adventure that surprised players at every turn. Now, more than 2 years later, it appears that developer From Software isn't done with pulling the rug out from under the feet of its fan base just yet. With the surprise reveal of Elden Ring NightReign, a standalone co-op spin-off that takes the cautious dungeon crawls of Elden Ring and turbocharges them into propulsive slash and dash speedruns. After spending some 6 hours of hands-on time with this bold new spin on From Software's own Souls-like formula, I can confirm that NightReign is shaping up to be something truly unique. If Elden Ring was one of 2022's biggest chart-topping hits, then NightReign would appear to be its dance floor-filling remix, chopped up, intensified in beats per minute, and designed to both excite fans of the original and broaden its appeal to the masses.
See, okay, I will say, it's hard for me to imagine like a Battle Royale appeasing. Well, I keep calling it Battle Royale. We're gonna say roguelike. We're gonna say roguelike for now. It's hard for me to imagine a roguelike appeasing to like the Souls fans, considering how the game is, and most people who play Souls-like games are there for like the difficulty of the game and bashing their head into that wall. You straight up, you are there to fight bosses. That is what you are there for. The whole idea of losing your progression and not having your own character, I feel like that might hurt the game a little bit. But just maybe the boss fights will be good enough that will keep people's attention, of the Souls games' attention rather, I should say that. But yeah, I think it'll keep their attention if the boss fights are good. But I feel like the whole aspect of not having your characters will be a detriment to them, because a lot of people who play Souls-likes, they kind of want to just make their own character and do their own builds. They want to do their own things. And the fact that you're kind of forced to like pick between like certain characters kind of hurts the aspect of that. Personally, I'm all for it. I love my character action games. Leave me alone. That's how I like to say it. Because honestly, what are you doing? When you're fighting a hard boss, what are you doing? You're just constantly going in there. You die to the boss, you go fight the boss again. You die to the boss, you go fight it again. You are bashing your head on that wall until you break it. Unless you get stubborn. Some people get stubborn and decide, you know what? I'm gonna go change my tool. AKA, I'm gonna change my character somewhere for him, or maybe I'll come back here when I level up. But a lot of people get stuck in a loop where they're just constantly fighting the freaking same boss, and they will not level themselves up. They will not change their gear. They will just go in there, bash their heads to that damn wall, and try to break it. If they make their own character and build for a Battle Royale, there's no point. It would be extremely skewed towards certain builds. Absolutely. Which is why I'm kind of excited for this game. It's doing something new. This has never been done in like an Elden Ring type game, so I'm excited to see what FromSoft does with it, and I'm praying that it does well. I see this as them trying to bring in new people to the franchise, possibly. But again, it kind of goes to the saying like, well, people who like this sort of game, well, they like the traditional Souls-like game. But again, this is all just me just guessing, because I haven't played it yet. I don't know how exactly it's going to play. I don't know how the mechanics are going to work exactly. I only know what they tell me. Fighting tree cylinders for 10 hours was a damn stick. Yes, that dude is the perfect example of someone bashing their head into that wall until the wall breaks. I cannot believe somebody got that stubborn. Actually, I can. I can actually, but still, it's funny that they streamed it. All right, hold on, I'm sorry, let me continue.
Now, unfortunately, because it was such an early build of the game that I played, I wasn't able to capture any footage, even though it was running great on PlayStation 5.
Damn, I was hoping to see some new footage.
So I apologize for the generic footage I'll be using here, and also for my generic face. Anyway, here's how NightReign breaks down. Imagine stepping back into the opening area from the original game, only nothing in the landscape seems to be where you remember it. Also, there are 3 of you now, and everything seems to be happening at a much higher tempo. That's NightReign in a nutshell. You squad up with 2 other players at the start of each round, get dropped into a densely packed alternate reality chunk of Limgrave that has both its enemy types and structures randomly shuffled around at the beginning of each session, and it's up to you and your squad mates to build up from your lowly level 1 character's status as fast as possible by harvesting runes and earning Destiny-style loot drops as you slash and dash through every enemy-filled camp that you come across. So, what's the big rush? Well, each session of NightReign is structured as a 3-day cycle, with each in-game day taking about 15 minutes to complete. At the start of the first day, you can pretty much pick any direction to plot your whirling path of destruction along, but as day approaches night, the space you can operate in narrows, and you're liable to be killed by acid-like rain should you find yourself caught for too long beyond the perimeter of the rapidly shrinking circle on the map, known as the Ring of Rain. In that regard, NightReign is a bit like Fortnite, only with more medieval forts and knights and considerably less TikTok dances. Once the Ring of Rain reaches its smallest diameter at the end of the day, a major boss fight is triggered. Like the rest of NightReign's enemies, these end-of-day bosses are always randomized, and during my repeat runs, I experienced clashes with familiar returning foes like a draconian tree sentinel, as well as some brand new nasties like the centipede, a towering, twisting swarm of disgusting limbs, prone to detaching its body parts in an attempt to divide itself and conquer my crew. With the day 1 boss dealt with, day 2 begins and the Ring of Rain rescinds, allowing your squad to take a breath, regroup, and then resume ransacking the map for upgrades in preparation for the more challenging foes to come at the end of days 2 and 3. It's a structure that allows for a gradual build of tension before a palpable sense of accomplishment and release with each boss felled.
Okay, so I do want to say, I think that's going to be amazing for this type of game. Because one of the things about Dark Souls and Elden Rings, any of the Soul series, pretty much one of the better aspects of the game is exploration. And trying to find, like, yeah, okay, don't get me wrong, fighting mobs and fighting the bosses are probably the best part of it, but the exploration definitely... It was definitely up there. It was really high up there because you always wanted to see, oh, I see a shiny, just like right here on the field. Please, can this possibly be a new weapon? Maybe a spell? And I think the fact that it's going to have like that roguelike element where everything's going to be randomized, that's going to do really well for the game in the sense that it's going to tickle that itch in the brain, you know, the freaking loot gobbling in your brain. And the fact that it's going to be randomized means that people won't be able to, like, you know, say, okay, let's go, we're in wherever area that we're in, let's just run to this area and immediately get our freaking best weapon, best gear, best staff, whatever. Truth be told, I feel like one of the reasons why I don't want to play Elden Ring from start to end again is just because I know that's what I'm going to end up doing if I do play it again, is that I'm going to be like, okay, so I'm going to do this build, let me just look up a guide real quick and immediately speed run to this area, then speed run to this area, then speed run to this area just to get the stuff that I want. I feel like the best part of Elden Ring was the first playthrough, just because of how massive the goddamn world is and all the treasures that you didn't know about, that no one knew about at the time, and finding just new gear, new items, new spells and whatnot. It made for a magical moment in that game. So with the whole thing being randomized, it's kind of going to give you that feeling. Not quite the same, but there is going to be that sense of excitement that you get. It's like, oh, please give me this item right here that I really want. And the sense of failure too that comes with it, because gambling.
Time, my squad mates and I became a well-oiled machine as far as getting the balance right between beelining for churches to snatch up valuable HP flasks and taking down the more major overworld enemies like dragons and hippos in order to get maximum XP boosts for buck before the map was cast back into darkness. We were also able to eventually settle upon the best combination of heroes for our group. You see, NightReign doesn't feature the lengthy list of generic character classes that the original Elden Ring did, and players won't have to Google the difference between vague-sounding archetypes like the Prisoner and Wretch when they...
Let's be fair. Did anybody actually care about the classes? Like, from the things that you pick, I honestly did not care at all about what the classes offered, really. Like, you didn't care about the class name, you care about what items that they gave you from the start. Because you're able to just freeform your freaking stat points to whatever you want and make your own build. I guess it's good for RPG purposes, and maybe it's like, I'm going strength build, so I might as well just pick big, I don't know, whatever, knight. And just because all the stats are going to be into the spots I want, but really in the end, it's just like, the class system kind of felt like it was meaningless to me.
First hop into play. Instead, NightReign offers 8 different heroes to choose from, each with very clearly identified strengths and weaknesses, in order to make it as easy to jump into as possible. 4 were playable in the preview build. Wilder is an all-rounder hero type with a good balance between speed and attack power. Guardian is a burly tank type with heavy attacks and increased damage resistance.
Is actually part of the group.
Duchess is a nimble type with fast attacks and a killer quick-step ability. And Recluse is a mage type with ranged magical attacks. Additionally, each character features a unique skill and ultimate attack that both operate on cooldown timers.
What?
Wilder is able to use his hookshot skill to either reel in smaller enemies like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, or to quickly zip past the swinging arms of a major boss in order to sneak a few strikes in from behind.
I don't feel like a freaking Souls game should have cooldowns.
To knock swarms of enemies off their feet,
kind of gross.
While Recluse can put a marker on an enemy so that every time that enemy is attacked, the damage is siphoned into boosts for her own HP. These unique abilities are all extremely useful in their own right, but finding ways to combine them with the special moves of your squad mates is key to surviving NightReign's toughest enemy encounters. One strategy that my squad grew to rely on quite heavily was to unleash a damaging ultimate attack on an enemy such as Guardian's swooping dive bomb, then immediately follow it up with Duchess's restage skill,
so weird
which
to me. Like,
basically creates an instant replay of the last attack landed and allows you to double the total amount of damage inflicted.
Not sit well
it's in finding killer
also,
combinations
it should be
of
like
moves
based
such
on your
as
stamina
these
and
that
your
the co-op focus
FP
of
or whatever
NightReign
they decide
really
your magic class is supposed to
shines.
be.
And after multiple failed attempts, my squad was finally able to progress through to the 3rd day of the cycle, which climaxed in a fight against a snarling Cerberus-like beast called Gladius, which forced my team to coordinate and queue up skills and ultimate attacks with painstaking precision in order to overcome it. Gladius is just the first of 8 major bosses to take down in NightReign, each with their own 3-day cycle leading up to them. In addition to the randomization of enemy types and structures, further wrinkles will be introduced into each boss cycle, such as live volcanoes and forests full of rot, in an effort to prevent the landscape from ever growing too predictable. That's along
good,
with
actually.
random events like meteor
I
strikes.
will say that was one of the things I was actually wondering about. Is like, is it going to be set builds, or if they're going to like have it be randomized completely, or if they're going to go like the Fortnite way, where the map is pretty much completely different every season. At least from what I've seen. I don't know, I could be wrong. But they do also update and change, the landscape does change a bit. Like some areas used to have like a lake in it, but suddenly now it's like a city or some crap like that. A place that was like a mountain hill suddenly, or rather like a flat plain became a mountain hill somewhere. I'm hoping that it'll be randomized like that. I think that would make the game much more interesting than it just being straight up a set piece. Like, okay, you were in the map of Limgrave. Now you're in the map of the underground place where you're getting sniped by people with antler horns all day. You're in the Volcano Manor. I'm hoping it's not going to be like that. It's going to be more randomized. I actually would be fine with that. I hope it's randomized because that adds to the freaking game. It makes it like a new experience every time.
Strikes, swarms of giant ants to fend off, and the surprise invasion of powerful tormentors like Margit the Fell Omen in an attempt to impede your progress. In addition to the approachability of its roster of playable characters, NightReign has polished up a lot of Elden Ring's more abrasive edges to make it a far more friction-free experience. A new wall jump move allows you to quickly hop up and over steep sections of the terrain, while the removal of any fall damage means you can lunge off cliffs or down dark holes without pausing to study your surroundings for safe platforms. You only need to walk near a site of grace to top up your health and flasks, and if you want to spend some runes to level up, you just button mash through pages of auto leveling that best suits the base traits of your chosen character, rather than having to agonize over whether you should allocate a point to faith or dexterity, for example. It all gives each session the feeling of being shuttled along in an intense speed run, and you can get around even faster by using spectral hawks to vault across great distances off the map.
Your freaking spectral
Death
hawks.
is not necessarily the end in NightReign either. If you find yourself down, you have a near-death meter that appears above you, and your squad mates must attack you while you crawl along the ground until the meter is reduced and you can return to the fray. It may sound slightly odd to basically kick a friend while they're down, but it's a system that works quite well, particularly since you can use ranged attacks like magic or crossbows to revive a down squad mate from a distance without the risk of putting yourself in harm's way. Should all 3 of you be wiped out at once, it's the end of the session, and you must restart day 1 with everyone back at level 1. So you need to stay on your toes in order to keep the rest of your squad on their feet whenever possible.
Okay, so honestly, that's pretty cool actually. It might be cheesy depending on how easy it is to revive your teammates. Like it says, shooting a dude with a crossbow, so you're not part of the battle, but yeah, I'm kind of glad that you're not just done. Like, oh, you're dead, like, you know, Fortnite. Well, no, if you're with teams of Fortnite, you can still get revived, but still, what I'm saying is, like, I'm glad that they're able to keep you into the game because it would suck to just sit there and watch your teammates play. Like, after you die, it's like, oh, okay, I mean, like, you know, like in Elden Ring, if you die in Elden Ring, that's it. Shoot, you usually get kicked out, usually. If you die, either if you're the host or if you're helping, you're gonna get kicked out, the boss fight gets restarted. So it's nice to see that you're able to watch what's still be part of the fight, see what's happening, and that you're able to go back into it. The fact that it's all like kind of like 15-minute runs is actually pretty cool too, because it makes it so that this will be a game that you'll be able to just jump in and jump out of. And what I mean by that, I mean like maybe you just come home from a rough day. I'm gonna play some Elden Ring NightReign real quick. Play 15 minutes and gonna go make dinner or do after you play your 15 minutes. You don't have to stay on it. It doesn't have to be like a long experience. It's just like a quick get in and get out kind of thing.
While there's no doubt that elements of it are inspired by the likes of Destiny and Diablo 4, it needs to be said that Elden Ring NightReign is not a live service game. Once you buy it, you get access to the complete package, and there are no battle passes or microtransactions to contend with. It can also be played in single player should you wish to stay offline, with enemy health pools that scale down so that it's not too overwhelming for solo players. Although, curiously, there are currently no plans to allow players to play in pairs. As someone who has sunk hundreds of hours into Elden Ring, both in the original 2022 game and this year's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, I can confidently say that From Software is onto something truly spectacular with NightReign. Cutting throats at breakneck speed with a pair of friends in tow has been a consistently exhilarating experience so far, and especially gratifying when you work together to topple its toughest bosses.
Like you say, you're not going to be able to play in pairs. Does that mean you can't play with your friends?
Tandem. Assuming the developers can throw enough randomized elements to keep each 3-day assault feeling fresh, then Elden Ring NightReign could well provide an exciting change of pace for existing fans and an enticingly accessible entry point for newcomers when it launches sometime in 2025. So, what do you think? Are you excited for Elden Ring NightReign, or do you prefer things slow and steady rather than rough and ready? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to read my full impressions and get your fix for all things Elden Ring NightReign on IGN.
I don't want to hear him say. Did he say?
So that it's not onto something hundreds of hours into contend with. It can also be played in single player should you wish to stay offline, with enemy health pools that scale down so that it's not too overwhelming for solo players. Although, curiously, there are currently no plans to allow players to play in pairs.
That's weird. Why would you do that? I think they're gonna add that. There's no way that they're gonna make an Elden Ring game where you can't play with your buddies. Maybe he meant like split screen. I can see. Okay, no split screen. You know what? That's fine too. I can see. That's the only thing I can see. Like, you're not being able to play with your friends will suck. If you're only able to play with Randall Fernando's, while it's kind of fine for others, I personally would be pissed off because I was already excited for the thought of playing with like my friend over here. I mean, all I'm hoping is there's no voice chat. Please, for the love of God, do me this solid. Don't have voice chat in this game. I cannot imagine the visceral that you would have to experience from salty players because you freaking did not be the boss. I don't want to deal with that. Or you know what? If you do have voice chat, make it default muted so I can leave it off. I'll be fine with that. Shoot. But yeah, that was NightReign. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see more info about it. I can't wait to see. I'm hoping we'll get a demo of it, like probably in the future. Who knows? But yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. There's just so many freaking good games that are coming out. Now there's too many good games coming out. It's too many. I don't have money. I need monies. I need a job. Oh my goodness. I need a good paying job. Anyway, Okay, I'm gonna call it from here. I once again, this was really fun. I'm actually happy that you got to look at this. I might stream tomorrow because I was